Hello there, artists. Today we are going to continue on to part 2 of our Chinese dragon project. So at this point, you probably have a little bit more done than me. I am working on finishing up my base for my dragon. And I'm just going to fold up my edges like we talked about last time. And then we're going to get into how to sculpt our dragon in all of its parts. So I'm just pinching my corners, just for a little bit of extra decorative look to it. There we go. And I'm going to set that aside. So today we are going to talk about how to shape the coil into a dragon. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you only have a certain amount of space on your tray, and anything that overhangs your tray has the danger of breaking or falling off. We don't really want to do a lot of that. So I'm going to show you an example that's finished. So this is an example that I finished earlier this week. I used my coil to shape the body. I'm going to show you how to make a head today with really easy steps, like really easy. I'm going to show you how to make feet if you want to do that. If you just want your dragon to be one long coil in all its different decorative glory, that's fine with me. But we're also going to attach our dragon to the base and get it ready to store for firing. So I'm going to set my dragon back aside for now. And I'm going to start by measuring how much of the dragon I'm going to have on my base. So if I want my dragon to have a narrow tail, like it gets skinnier at one end, I probably don't need a coil this long. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tear the coil apart, and I can hold that extra clay over there for now, and then I'm going to wiggle my whole camera, apparently. I'm going to roll with more pressure on one side so I can make it skinnier for the end of a tail. Now, if it's skinny enough to break, let's break it off and try again. So, more pressure is more shaping, is also going to make your clay a little bit skinnier. Back and forth. Try to get it to go all the way around in a circle when you roll it so you don't get any flat spots. And make sure that you're rolling your clay on your mat or on your tray. Try not to roll it onto your table because it will get stuck and it will make a mess. And we don't need to make a mess. Not if we can control it. Alright, so I have a tail end and then I have a body end, keeping in mind that my clay should not be much thicker than my thumb. If it's too thick, I can roll it some more. Better to roll it thin than to have it be too thick. So I've got my skinny little tail here, making sure it's nice and strong by smoothing out any cracks that I see. And I can shape my body how I want it to go. Maybe I want to have it sit like that. Yeah. Have it kind of like up like a snake. Keep in mind that if you have any cracks, they can become breaks, so smooth out any cracks that you see. Okay. Alright. So, I'm just going to leave that there for now. I'm not going to attach anything. I'm not going to add any detail. I've got it where I want it to be. I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit so I can see that my dragon is going to sit in my coil shape into my base. Now I'm going to show you how to make a couple of other things. So I'm going to start with feet, because if you're going to make feet for your dragon, there's some really easy ways to do it. You start with a small coil, and then you are going to put your finger on one end of the coil. You're going to bend it, not completely around your finger. We're not making jewelry here, we're making a foot. So what you'll see is something kind of like a leg and a foot. Make sure you smooth out any cracks that you have. I think mine is a little too big, so I'm going to take a little bit more off. I'm going to size it to my dragon. So if it's too big at any time, you can pull some material off and change the shape and the size. So I'm going to smooth this out. Then I'm going to use my handy dandy pencil. You should always have a pencil. It's art. Even if you're not drawing with it, you can use it as a tool. And I'm going to push the point of my pencil down onto my clay 1 time and 2 times. So I can leave it like this where it's flat in the middle, or I can use my finger and thumb to pinch those toes apart so I have a little more space in between. Big thing is, don't make your legs any thicker than your thumb and smooth out any cracks that you find. So I've got a foot here. If I want to attach it, I'm just going to leave it in there for now, but it looks like a pretty good foot to me. I think I did a good job. I'm going to smooth out some cracks on the bottom. Especially when you're bending coils, the clay can start to crack a little more, so make sure that you take the time to smooth out your clay, and don't forget to do that. We don't want any rough edges or broken pieces. I've got my 3 little toes here. I'm going to set that foot over here for now. I can always make another one. And I'm going to make a head. So depending on how big the body of your dragon is, you don't want to make a head that's like this big. You're going to need to portion off a piece of the clay so you have enough to make the head without making it too big. So this is still a little too big. You can use your pencil or your fingers to pull apart your clay and make it a little bit smaller. And just keep on sizing it down until you have what you want. Okay, I think I'm happy with that piece and that size. So I'm going to take a little bit of water and I'm going to smooth out any cracks that I see. And then I'm going to compress the sides of the clay by squeezing it, not squishing it down, but just squeezing it tighter. And I'm going to make it into a rectangle. So I'll slow that down. So I have this piece of clay. I'm going to take my pointer and my thumb, and I'm going to put the clay flat in between them and pinch gently to make a rectangle. Smoothing out any cracks that I see and find. Okay, so now I have this rectangle, and you're probably thinking, so a rectangle for a face. Yeah, no, we're gonna make it awesome. So you're gonna take your pointer and your thumb, and you're going to use your other pointer and thumb to smush the face ever so slightly. And now you'll see that it's nice and round with a pointed nose. This is just one way to make a dragon head. You, of course, can do it any way you so please, but I always have people asking me how to do it, and this is how I do it, real quick and simple. So I've smushed it. Notice that now I have these little indents or spaces where I've pushed in. We're back to our pencil. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to put it in the middle of the rectangle, and then I'm going to slightly move it to the edge and push. And I can do that to open the mouth, and I can turn it the other way and I can do the same thing. I can push. Now this extra clay I don't need, so I can take it off. And then I have jaws. I have a top jaw and a bottom jaw for my dragon. Now, if at any point you're thinking, oh, they got a little too small, or I don't really like the shape, you are in control. Just use a little bit more pressure, and you can shape it any way you want. Then you should size it onto the body. Make sure that before you add it on, you do the details on the face. It's just a little bit easier and makes it a little stronger once you attach it, so you're not poking and prodding at it. So I like to use my pencil to make eyes. If you would prefer to add eyes on, I'll also show you how to do that. So I've got a head here, and we're just about ready to attach. There we go. Okay. Now, to start attaching things, and this goes for anything on your project, you must remember to score and slip. So scoring means we're going to scratch our clay with a toothbrush or any other rough object. You could use a pencil, you could use your fingernail if you really had to, or a paper clip. Okay? But we are making grooves in the clay, and I'm going to show you how to attach something to the clay by slipping and scoring, and then you get to do your own thing and put your dragon together the way you want it, because it's going to be amazing no matter what you do. Alright, so I'm actually going to turn mine over so it looks like my dragon is holding something. Like this. Maybe like this. Yeah, like that. Anytime you attach clay, you have to score with a tool. I like to use a toothbrush. They're easy to find, they're a little bit rough, and they make perfect slip, because the slip is the clay that gets wet and gets stuck in those bristles. Works really, really good as glue for our clay. So we can't actually glue our clay because when we put it in the kiln it will fall apart. Anything that we are going to attach to needs this same treatment. So we got to give our little dragon body a little bath over here and get it nice and slipped. Then we are going to smoosh it onto the body. And if you've got extra slip, look at this guy, he's like, I don't want to move. If you've got extra slip, you can just use it to smooth out any cracks that you find or any spaces between where the body and the legs or arms attach. Or if you're attaching the head, same thing. It's just an extra way to put glue into the cracks. Okay, I'm going to make another foot real quick. So, pinching into a rectangle, turning and pinching, turning and pinching, turning and pinching. Since this isn't quite long enough for another leg, you can roll it like the coil we learned last time. Put my finger down, turn my clay, there we go. Getting ready to make another foot. So pencil, push, pencil, push. You don't need a very sharp pencil for this. In fact, it's better if it's not, because the sharp pencil is just going to break lead off into your clay, and lead can actually change the color of your clay. If you didn't know that, now you know. Alright, so get that extra clay out from between your toes. Here we go. Got another foot here. I'm going to move this off of my base to attach just because it's a little easier. Alright. I can pull off any extra material I want. And then I can score with my brush. Scrub it up. Get that nice mud on there. Same thing on the body. Anything we attach to needs to be scored and slipped as well. Even soft clay. If it's really soft and you can just push the clay together, maybe you could get away with it. But it's better to slip and score because it'll be stronger. Make sure you also smooth out the bottom of the body because otherwise things could fall off. And you're going to have to use a little bit of pressure to hold everything together, because it's a little bit slippery when you start putting it together. Okay, so I'm going to move this back. And yours might look totally different from mine. That's the great thing about art. Things are going to change as you work on them yourself. You should make it the way that you want it, not necessarily the way that I'm showing you this time, because it's your clay project. Alright, I've got 2 feet attached. Now I think you could probably figure out, after slipping and scoring some legs on, how to attach the head, right? Any details you add onto the face, you do the same thing. So if you want to put horns on the head, if you want to put eyeballs, all of it, every single little piece, needs to be slipped and scored to attach. If you slip and score it, it almost always will stay together and nothing will fall off. Okay. And also remember that when you are working on your project, if you have parts that are going to overlap the base a lot, or pieces that stick up, just make sure that you slip and score them really, really securely on there so they don't break off while it's drying. Kind of fun thing about clay, you can change the shape until it gets too dry. So I'm going to change the shape of my body here. Make it more like it's coiled up and folded. I like its big legs. I didn't mean for it to turn out that big, but I like it, and I'm gonna roll with it. Again, to add details, any kind of details, if I'm gonna make a horn, or a nose horn, or whatever kind of horn, I need to score, scratch, goop it up, and attach. You might have to hold it there another extra minute or two, but usually that score is plenty to get your project stuck together the way that you want it. So this is our example. Same project you did, just a little more detail work because a little less rushed. I got 4 feet, 2 horns, and a big old sassy dragon looking at you. Make sure that if your project gets done and everything you want is sculpted and put onto your dragon's body, that you also slip and score the body to attach it to the base. We don't want any dragons falling off around here. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed making your Chinese clay dragon. Make it amazing, make it you, and make it fun. Bye-bye.